Protocol has been activated. You ready?
On the season finale of Doc.
We need a brain CT scan now.
What happened, Michael?
I feel like you've been avoiding me.
You can't waste your life over someone who doesn't really see you. I screwed up everything, so you gotta own it. This is Dixon.
I begged you not to do this.
Doc, season finale, next Tuesday on Fox. Doc is TV's most compelling medical drama, and its season finale will leave you breathless. All new next Tuesday on Fox.
Now, your primetime local news leader. Fox 22 News at 10.
Maine Republican Representative Laurel Libby has filed a federal lawsuit against Maine House Speaker Ryan Fecteau. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Beth Jones.
And I'm Devin Dagnall. The suit comes after she says her First and 14th Amendment rights were violated when she was censured by the House. Her censure was based on a social media post that revealed the personally identifiable information of a high school-aged transgender athlete who had competed as a woman at a recent state competition. The House said Libby had violated the code of conduct and censured her, effectively removing her ability to speak on the floor or cast a vote. The lawsuit was filed today in the U.S. District Court of the District of Maine. In a statement, Libby said in part, quote, "Speaker Fecteau and the Democrat majority are risking hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funding for our schools by stubbornly refusing to address this injustice. I have the constitutional right to speak out, and my constituents have the right to full representation in the Maine House," end quote.
In other news, an unusual sentence was handed down by a judge today in the case of Javon Carter, a man who attacked and almost killed his girlfriend at the time with a hammer in May of 2023. The judge said aggravated attempted murder, which Javon Carter was charged with, is designated as a Class A felony and carries a lengthy sentence, but not usually life in prison. However, it can carry a life sentence if certain aggravating factors exist, and the judge today ruled that those factors did exist and were proven beyond a reasonable doubt. He recounted the events of the incident back in May of 2023 and that the victim's injuries from the attack were, quote, extensive, severe, and horrific. The judge says he also weighed Carter's other criminal history, including the fact that he was already on probation for a previous domestic violence charge when he committed this offense, as well as the victim's impact statement and other, quote, significant aggravating factors. Ultimately, Javon Carter was sentenced to life in prison for aggravated attempted murder. The prosecutor credited Maine State Police for their work in this case.
The state police did phenomenal work on this case. It was just a clean investigation from start to finish. They saved this victim's life. They really did. If not for the state police, she would not be alive today.
In addition to the life sentence, decades-long concurrent sentences were handed down on the other 3 counts Carter faced. None of those sentences are to be suspended. Linz says she is proud of the victim in this case for how she has managed to heal and move forward with her life.
Last year, the state began establishing public defender offices with the goal of having them help pick up some of the indigent criminal defense cases. However, some are arguing they are not taking on enough. Our Grace Blanchard explains.
As the state continues to struggle assigning lawyers to those who cannot afford them, more pressure is being placed on the recently established public defenders.
We're talking about lawyers representing people where the stakes are as high as they get.
Since last summer, District Defender Logan Perkins has been working to grow Penobscot County's first state-funded public defender's office here in Bangor.
We've seen an impact on the number of cases that don't have representation right now, and the number is going down.
According to Perkins, last fall, roughly 300 to 350 people in Penobscot County were waiting to be assigned attorneys. Today, she says that number is around 150.
We are choosing cases based on our capacity, based on the nature of the offense and the skills and experience of the available defenders, and whether or not we have a conflict of interest.
Right now, their team of 4 defenders are handling around 162 cases. The office has received pushback from the Penobscot County District Attorney's Office, who is taking on over 300 cases per prosecutor. Court documents reveal there have been multiple proceedings in which members of the DA's office have encouraged judges to directly appoint the defenders to cases.
It seems to completely defy logic to have multiple public defenders sitting here able to take the case in making Sixth Amendment arguments.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. As a factual matter, the state is in no position to comment on the Public Defender's Office ability to take a case.
According to Perkins, they have struggled with hiring due to geographic challenges, and a number of their attorneys are relatively inexperienced with criminal defense. She also says they were established by the legislature to handle 1/3 of the indigent defendants.
We are not taking 1/3 of the cases yet, but that is the capacity we were designed to serve, not 100%, and it would be unethical and irresponsible of us to take more than we have capacity for.
In Bangor, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Senator Angus King is demanding answers about the cancellation of hundreds of contracts that support the care of veterans. At the end of February, the VA announced a list of 875 contracts that would be canceled. Less than 24 hours later, it stated they were on hold. A week later, the VA announced the cancellation of an additional 585 contracts. But Senator King says so far they have not confirmed what contracts would actually be included. The only radiation safety officer at Togus VA Medical Center in Maine was included on that first list. In a letter to Department of Veterans Affairs Secretary Doug Collins, King requested a full list of all the canceled contracts and made it clear that arbitrary, reckless cancellations will adversely impact veteran care in Maine and across the country.
Versant Power customers will be paying more for their electricity. The Maine Public Utilities Commission approved a 23.2% distribution revenue increase. For a typical customer using 500 kilowatt hours of electricity per month, it will result in an estimated $11.15 increase in their monthly bill. In a statement, PUC Commission Chair Philip Bartlett said, quote, Versant Power needs to make critical improvements to its infrastructure and operations, but it must also manage the pace of growth. Given concerns about affordability, customers should expect to see significant measurable benefits when rates go up, and we will hold the utility accountable for delivering those benefits. As part of our approval, we are requiring Versant to demonstrate improved reliability with financial penalties for failure to do so.
A settlement with a drug company will mean cheaper insulin for Mainers. Attorney General Aaron Fry announced the settlement today after scrutiny over Sanofi-Aventis U.S. LLC pricing policies. Under the settlement, Mainers who are uninsured or who have commercial health insurance can purchase monthly supplies of the company's insulin products for $35 cash through 2029. To explore the possible savings through the $35 cash program, residents should ask their pharmacist when filling their prescriptions.
The University of Maine system learned Monday that its funding from the U.S. Department of Agriculture has been temporarily paused. A statement sent out by the university system today says an email forwarded to them directs the department's awarding agencies and staff offices to, quote, no longer issue payments or authorize any releases of funding to Columbia University or the University of Maine system. The university's statement says the messages goes on to say, quote, the pause is temporary in nature while the USDA evaluates if it should take any follow-on actions related to prospective Title VI or Title IX violations. The statement from the University of Maine system says on February 22nd, the USDA announced it was initiating a Title IX review of UMaine, although the department alleged no wrongdoing by the university. According to their statement, university staff gave verbal answers and provided written responses confirming the system's athletic programs were in compliance with state and federal laws. Their statement says in fiscal year 2024, the USDA awarded more than $29 million to UMaine for research that directly benefit the state's farmers, fishermen, and foresters, including research on how to mitigate the impact of PFAS contamination.
Well, top leaders of the University of Maine system, Maine Community College system, and Maine Maritime Academy addressed a joint session of the state legislature for a State of Higher Education in Maine address. Our Augusta reporter Corey Bouchard has the story.
The state of the University of Maine system is strong and innovating. Maine's higher education leaders addressed a joint session of the Maine legislature on Tuesday and delivered a mostly positive message, touting an increase in enrollment for in-person courses, a successful partnership between the University of Maine system and the Maine Community College system, and innovation in the face of hardships.
During the pandemic, we elected to innovate at a time of uncertainty. We created a new workforce development model, building deep, value-added partnerships with Maine businesses. This model has become a national best practice.
Despite those increases in enrollment, the three leaders urged Maine lawmakers to increase funding for Maine's higher education institutions to help with the future of Maine.
More state funding is necessary to keep pace with this unprecedented demand, and I hope you take that into consideration when you vote on our budget.
We ask that you support ongoing funding for the free college program and support increasing our base so that we can effectively compensate our employees and meet our obligations under the Paid Family Medical Leave Law.
At the State House, I'm Corey Bouchard for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Alrighty, well, we're feeling the temperatures come up. You know, might not have been the brightest of days to start, but yeah, there's definitely some hope on the horizon.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get a first check of our forecast and see what's coming.
All right, Beth, thank you. Still a small craft advisory out there through tomorrow because our gusty south wind will turn out of the northwest later on tonight and get a little gusty as well. We had wind gusts today near 35 miles per hour out of the south. Tomorrow, though, out of the northwest, around 20 to 25 miles per hour, especially throughout the afternoon. It's also going to bring in colder temperatures. So today felt pretty good, right? 49 here in Bangor, 51 Millinocket, 48 for Greenville. Above average temperatures today, but again, the cooler stuff is right over there. That's moving our direction for tomorrow. We're going to cool off for a day or two around here. All right, this looks impressive, but it's really not. There's lots of virga in here. Precipitation in the clouds, not reaching the ground. The radar sees it, but it's going to fall apart. There could be a sprinkle, maybe a flurry tonight. Most of us will stay dry. This will not be a big deal at all. The bigger deal that arrives for us after the weekend with this system right here, likely bringing us some rain and potentially some snow Sunday into Monday. Our forecast tonight, though, is mostly cloudy skies to partly cloudy skies with low temperatures down near 30. Your full forecast is coming up.
Alrighty, Jeff, thank you so much. And still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, our Alex Schley was in Enfield to see what potential impacts Maine residents could expect from President Trump's lumber tariffs.
And a bill was proposed to seek a ban for cannabis advertisements. We'll have those stories and more local news when we return.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
Dragon Slayer Arcade now has 2 locations inside the Bangor Mall. Dragon Slayer has birthday party packages starting at just $50, which provides you with a designated area for you and your friends, which includes pizza and drinks. Dragon Slayer is all about birthday parties and would love for you to spend your next birthday with us. Give Dragon Slayer a call today to schedule your next birthday party. 860-462-1843.
Here at Twin City Tire and Service, you will be working with industry professionals. We have ASE certified master technicians and certified tire and lube technicians. If we need your vehicle for a duration of time, we offer a complimentary shuttle service and can even offer a loaner vehicle. Being a client at Twin City Tire and Service means that we will treat you right. This includes a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty on mechanical repairs. We also provide you with 1 year of complimentary roadside assistance. Come see us today at Twin City Tire and Service in Brewer.
Fires, floods, burst pipes. Disasters happen, but the mess they leave behind doesn't have to last. For 40 years, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration has been there to help Mainers get back to the closest to normal as they can. When your property is at its worst, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration is at their best, and they have been for 4 decades. Put your trust in the Bouchard team. Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration. You keep the memories, we'll handle the rest.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
President Donald Trump has proposed tariffs on Canadian lumber. While the extra cost is likely to fall on consumers, the impact on the industry remains unclear. Our Alex Schley has more.
The minute the word tariffs was mentioned, it was if the tariffs were in place. The price of building materials went up immediately.
Friday, less than 24 hours after pausing tariffs on Canada, President Donald Trump made remarks threatening Canada with a tariff of up to 250% on lumber.
Canada has been ripping us off for years on tariffs for lumber and for dairy products.
President of the Northeastern Retail Lumber Association, Rita Ferris, says these comments from the president have affected prices.
Just the talk of tariffs is having the same effect of actually having the tariffs.
Not everyone in the lumber industry, however, feels the impact of lumber prices is negative.
It's already shown to buoy prices upward, which they need to solidify a little higher than they are now.
Michael Lebrun is the general manager of Pleasant River Lumber Company in Enfield, the only company that produces framing lumber in Maine.
It's hard to compete with Crown land subsidies from the Canadian government, so they're able to buy the lion's share of their logs for a very low cost.
Lebrun says a tariff on Canadian lumber would help even the playing field.
It has a potential to be very positive.
Ferris says that while long-term tariffs could benefit the lumber industry, the looming threat of tariffs accompanied by lack of action is creating instability in the market.
The con is the pain that we're in right now because of the pricing instability, and it's a lot of pain. It's the hope of our industry that the president can negotiate a good deal and we can get some kind of an agreement in place that will provide pricing stability, at least for the short term.
Ferris says without stable prices, it makes it difficult for those in the lumber industry to conduct business. In Enfield, I'm Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News. Well, marijuana in Maine may be legal, but a new bill up for debate at the State House wants to ensure advertising for it is not. Julia Simone explains the bill would ban advertisements of cannabis products statewide.
Shops throughout Maine have been selling recreational marijuana for more than 4 years, but the rules around advertising the product still remain up in the air.
I feel like these ads are okay as long as they don't go towards minors.
Senator Scott Searway is sponsoring legislation that looks to regulate cannabis advertising. He says it's about putting children first.
There was a lack of actually putting some guardrails. I always think of the children first, and I think that this is a big problem that we have not considered them, and so that's why I'm doing this.
Senator Searway says the bill prohibits all forms of marketing and advertising. There are 3 exceptions: on company websites, on company signs of properties, and business directories. Lawmakers are proposing this bill for both medical and recreational cannabis use. Dispensary owners say they are not for it. They say as long as these ads are not directed towards children, they should be allowed.
We believe that cannabis can enhance well-being when used in the proper way. And so that's not to be used by minors, and we try to adhere to that. And we think that should be applied to all cannabis, whether it's medical or adult use.
Others support an advertisement ban.
I don't think it should be advertised. I don't think it should be encouraged by any means stretch. And like I said, it's not good for your lungs and not good for your health.
The bill is still in committee and has not had a public hearing yet.
Coming up on the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22, DOGE continues efforts to cut down the size of the federal government as the Department of Education plans to lay off almost half of its workforce.
And Ukraine says it will accept a 30-day ceasefire in its war with Russia as talks go on in Saudi Arabia with U.S. officials. We'll have those stories and more when we come back.
It's all fun, all hybrid, and all-wheel drive. The all-wheel drive Toyota Camry Hybrid. A well-appointed, stylish hybrid that's all about comfort and all about exceptional driving range. And with special 4.99% financing for 60 months, all about great value. The all-fun, all-wheel drive Camry Hybrid. An all-around great choice. See your New England Toyota dealer. Your hybrid all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota. Let's go places.
Hammond Lumber Company has been a trusted partner of professional contractors, do-it-yourselfers, and homeowners for generations. It's the level of trust that Hammond Lumber has earned by providing an extensive selection of products and materials from industry-leading suppliers, with guidance and support through every stage of any project, including delivery of materials throughout Maine and New Hampshire. Hammond Lumber Company is, has been, and will always be your building project partner.
Great Scott! This is Green Bear 420 in 2010. What kind of trip is this? I gotta get back to 2023. Wait, it's 2015. So much has changed. In 2023, we had a lot more glass, t-shirts, and novelties. It's gonna take a bolt of lightning to get me home. Finally, home at last. Now Green Bear 420, Green Bear Green Care is bigger and better than ever. To be continued.
Hi there, I'm Emma Smith, and coming up on Good Morning Maine, we'll talk to a local lumber company who are looking forward to the president's tariffs on Canadian lumber. We'll learn more. Plus, a doctor is wanted in Dexter by a landlord offering a free location for one who wants to practice locally. These stories and more coming up on Good Morning Maine.
Hard time breathing.
Try putting your arms above your head.
Up, Robin. The Masked Singer, Lucky Season 13, all new Wednesdays on Fox.
There's one number you need to know. It's called Joe.
One of the smallest cabinet-level agencies in the nation, the Department of Education, is winding down. The agency announcing mass layoffs Tuesday as it works to comply with President Trump's plan to dismantle the agency. While abolishing the department completely still requires congressional approval, staff cuts are effectively forcing it to reorganize amid changes. Fox News correspondent Marianne Rafferty has the story.
What we did today was to take the first step of eliminating what I think is bureaucratic bloat.
The Department of Education moves to cut half its workforce. More than 1,300 employees getting reduction in force notices via email. Newly confirmed Education Secretary Linda McMahon says it's all part of President Trump's plan to abolish the agency.
He's taken the bureaucracy out of education so that more money flows to the states. Better education is closest to the kids, with parents, with local superintendents, with local school boards.
Reaction on Capitol Hill was swift, with Democrats condemning the move.
It's part of the whole effort to unilaterally ignore the law. I mean, to unilaterally change the government and override the legitimacy of Congress.
Republicans rallied behind the president.
Hopefully the money be sent to local school districts.
In a statement, the Department of Education said these cuts won't impact the agency's ability to carry out statutory obligations. This includes programs like student loans, Pell Grants, and funding for special needs students. Critics, however, say abolishing the agency will throw all these programs into chaos.
Save our schools! Save our schools!
Hours before the cuts were announced, dozens of people gathered outside the Department of Education to rally for public support.
Attempts to dismantle our public schools are an attempt to diminish our democracy and put more money and control and power into the pockets of billionaires like Elon Musk.
Employees impacted by the reduction in force notice will be placed on administrative leave starting March 21st. Marianne Rafferty, Fox News.
Meanwhile, in a narrow vote, House Republicans approved a stopgap measure to keep the government funded at least through the summer. Fox's senior national correspondent Kevin Cork is in Washington with that story.
The bill is passed without objection.
House Republicans Tuesday afternoon voting 217 to 213, passing a spending bill to fund the government at its current levels until the end of September.
This was a big vote on the House floor.
Speaker Mike Johnson, after the vote, touting Republican efforts, applauding the GOP's success in passing a funding bill ahead of Friday's looming deadline, and in the process, avoiding a government shutdown. Overall, the measure boosts defense spending by $6 billion compared to fiscal 2024 and decreases non-defense spending by $13 billion.
This was a clean CR. It freezes funding. It's a responsible thing to do.
Johnson accusing Democrats of organizing a, quote, shameful misinformation campaign ahead of Tuesday's vote. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries disagreeing. Democrats in the House and Senate saying the bill only gives more leeway to President Trump and Elon Musk. to redirect funding as they see fit.
The strong House Democratic vote in opposition to this reckless Republican spending bill speaks for itself.
House Democrats arguing more bipartisan collaboration is needed.
We need reasonable Republicans to work with us, to put the American people first.
And while this spending bill is supported by President Trump, it still has to pass the Senate. However, with 53 Republicans and 47 Democrats, a supermajority of 60 votes is needed to end a potential Democratic filibuster and vote on the final bill. In other words, to be continued. In Washington, I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
Ukraine says it will accept a 30-day ceasefire in its war with Russia. This comes as talks go on with Saudi Arabia with U.S. officials. Fox's Alex Hogan is in Tel Aviv with the latest.
After more than 7 hours of meetings in Saudi Arabia, the U.S. and Ukraine announced new steps to bring the war with Russia closer to an end.
The Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a ceasefire.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz explained the plan calls for a 30-day pause in fighting, which could then be extended.
The Ukrainian delegation today made something very clear, that they share President Trump's vision for peace.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky tonight says his country is ready to make a deal.
Not only stopping missile, drone, bomb attacks, not only in the Black Sea, but along the entire front line.
It's the first in-person U.S.-Ukraine meeting since President Zelensky's dramatic Oval Office visit 2 weeks ago.
You don't have the cards right now.
Now Washington is lifting its suspension of military aid to Ukraine and its pause on intelligence sharing. It comes as Ukraine says Russian forces fired a ballistic missile and more than 120 drones toward the country overnight. Russia says Ukraine launched its biggest drone attack, deploying more than 300 drones, including more than 90 on Moscow. Back on the diplomatic front, Secretary Rubio says the next move is up to Russia.
Our hope is that the Russians will answer yes as quickly as possible. If they say no, then we'll unfortunately know what the impediment is to peace here.
Trump administration's special envoy Steve Witkoff is expected to travel to Moscow later this week. Also in the talks today, the U.S. and Ukraine agreed to conclude the minerals deal in the near future. In Tel Aviv, Israel, Alex Hogan, Fox News.
Still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, Jody Hersey talked with a local resident who's doing everything in his power to bring a medical practice to his town.
And in sports, it is playoff time. Maine men's hockey awaits their opponent in the Hockey East semifinals. We'll be right back.
You can't miss. Let's go! TV's most addictive game show. Let's go! The Floor is all new Wednesdays on Fox.
Paramount Paving, Maine's go-to for all your paving and seal coating. Paramount Paving offers commercial and residential paving and seal coating services throughout eastern and central Maine. Give us a call for a free estimate today. Paramount Paving. When it comes to paving, we are Paramount.
Your local financial partner has a new name, the County Federal Credit Union. And we're inspired by the people we serve, the big dreamers and smart planners, the risk takers and trailblazers. As a lifelong partner offering powerful tools and personal service, we were built for our members. Start a financial relationship that's driven by community and inspired by you. Visit countyfcu.org.
Hi, I'm Tony Hafford from TC Hafford Basement Systems, the all things basement-y company. Basement waterproofing, basement structural repair, humidity and mold control, and nasty crawl spaces too. Since 1991, over 15,000 Maine homeowners have trusted TC Hafford Basement Systems to fix their basements. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems today for all things basement-y.
You live in vacation land, right? Then get out and vacation, why don't you? And do it in style by renting an RV from Maine Campo Rentals. Fully furnished, fully insured, ready to roll out and explore. Or maybe you have relatives visiting you. Save your marriage, save the hotel expense, put them up in an affordable RV from Maine Campo Rentals. We'll deliver to Acadia and local campgrounds too. Call or visit online at MaineCampoRentals.com. Put away that cell phone and discover vacation land with Maine Campo Rentals in Brewer.
John Brown first opened his own appliance store in Ellsworth in 1976.
With his gift of storytelling, a strong work ethic, and a philosophy of putting others first, John and his wife and children saw the business prosper and grow. Today's third and fourth generation of family and their entire team continue to follow the example set by their grandparents and parents. Brown Appliance and Mattress, High Street, Ellsworth, a family tradition of quality, value, and customer service that always puts you first.
Paramount Paving, Maine's go-to for all your paving and seal coating. Paramount Paving offers commercial and residential paving and seal coating services throughout eastern and central Maine. Give us a call for a free estimate today. Paramount Paving. When it comes to paving, we are Paramount.
It's been just over a month since the horrific mid-air collision over the Potomac River outside Washington, D.C. Now, the National Transportation Safety Board is out with its preliminary findings on the tragedy, and they come with some immediate recommendations for Reagan National Airport. Fox's Rebecca Castor has the details.
There's a serious safety issue here, which is why we're issuing these urgent safety recommendations.
A strong warning from the National Transportation Safety Board about operations at Reagan National Airport. With their preliminary investigation into January's collision between a military Black Hawk and an American Airlines jet complete, investigators say helicopter traffic near DCA needs to be permanently restricted.
We remain concerned about the significant potential for a future mid-air collision at DCA.
According to the NTSB, between October 2021 and December 2024, there were more than 15,000 close calls between planes and helicopters near Reagan National. Less than 2% of off-flight operations at DCA, but investigators say the risk is too great. Helicopter traffic near Reagan National has already been restricted since the crash, but with the NTSB's recommendations, permanent changes are likely on the way. The collision, which killed 67 people, was the first in a string of aviation accidents this year. There were other deadly crashes in Pennsylvania and Alaska. But the Trump administration insists U.S. air travel is still safe.
You know, they have times when things happen a little bit more often than normal, and then it goes back and you go many years without having a problem.
The preliminary report also mentions that 5 air traffic controllers were in the tower at the time of the accident, with 2 people doing multiple jobs. From Reagan National Airport, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Outrage continues to grow over the arrest of former Columbia grad student and Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil. His arrest over the weekend by ICE agents at his apartment near the university has sparked widespread protesting. Critics are angry over Khalil's arrest and his detention at an ICE facility in Louisiana. Fox's Scott Gernal has the story.
I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win.
Another day of protests in New York City calling for the release of Mahmoud Khalil, the former Columbia University graduate student arrested by ICE agents over the weekend despite being a lawful green card holder.
This administration is not going to tolerate individuals having the privilege of studying in our country and then siding with pro-terrorist organizations that have killed Americans.
On Tuesday, the White House defended Khalil's arrest, accusing the Palestinian activist who helped lead pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia last year of distributing pro-Hamas propaganda. They say Khalil is being investigated as a potential threat to national security. Critics, however, are calling the move an attack on free speech.
Political speech or speaking out should never be the basis of punishment or lead to deportation.
It's a message being echoed by Democrats on Capitol Hill.
Trump revoked Mahmoud Khalil's legal status over his choice to speak out. It is not a crime to disagree with your school or your government.
Meanwhile, Republicans rallied behind the president's actions.
This is just getting started. So, look, I appreciate free speech. I used to defend it in courts, but this is far beyond the pale of that.
The State Department tells Fox part of our immigration laws allow the Secretary of State to remove a non-citizen if their presence has serious adverse foreign policy consequences. While Khalil has not committed a crime, he could still be deported. For now, a judge has blocked his deportation until a court hearing Wednesday. In New York, Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Well, pivoting now, this year's flu season is still the worst in decades, but it appears to have peaked in many areas. Now there are new concerns about next year's flu and whether the country will be ready. Fox's Jared Halpern has more from the White House.
The flu may have peaked, but it's still packing a punch. Nationwide, the CDC reports fewer people testing positive and fewer seeking treatment. But the hospitalization rate is still higher than it's been in 15 years. And doctors across the country are warning now is not the time to let down your guard.
We sometimes see a peak of one strain and then a couple weeks later another peak. Don't go to work if you're sick. Don't go to school if you're sick.
Most health officials are also advising folks that the flu vaccine is the best protection against serious infection. But some are sounding the alarm after the FDA confirmed a meeting of its flu vaccine advisory panel had been canceled and not rescheduled. That's significant because drug makers make their vaccines based on recommendations from that panel, and they need to start soon in order to get ready for next year.
This is really important because influenza viruses change and we don't always see the same thing from year to year.
HHS Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. has not said whether the meeting will be put back on the calendar, but he told Fox News that his main vaccine focus will be transparency and choice.
The CDC in the past has not done a good job at quantifying the risks of vaccines. We are going to do that now so that people can make a real informed choice.
The CDC says it's planning a new study on whether vaccines cause autism, though there is no scientific evidence suggesting they do. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Southwest Airlines is making a big change. Bank of America hit a major data breach. Small business owners are expressing concern about the economy, and Lego sales beat the odds. Fox's CJ Papa has today's business headlines.
Southwest Airlines, known for its Bags Fly Free slogan, is about to start charging you to check your bags. The change takes effect for bookings made on or after May 28th. Customers with top loyalty status, those buying the most expensive tickets, and travelers with the next level of loyalty or a Southwest credit card will still get at least one bag checked free. Southwest hasn't said how much it will cost to check a bag. Bank of America hit with a major data breach. The nation's second largest bank blaming it on a third-party data destruction vendor that was hired to pick up documents in late December for shredding. Any customers affected were sent letters. Names, account numbers, addresses, and social security numbers were exposed. Small business optimism declined last month. The National Federation of Independent Business says its index dropped more than 2 points to a reading of 100.7. The group's chief economist, Bill Dunkelberg, says the index reflects rising uncertainty. And demand for Legos is holding up. The toy company says its Star Wars and Harry Potter toys helped boost sales 12% last year. CJ Papa, Fox News.
And coming up, we have our full 5-day forecast. Some warmth is on the way.
I hope so.
Yes.
The gusty southwest wind all day today will switch out of the northwest tonight and get a little gusty as well, but much cooler temperatures are on the way for a couple days. Details on that when I come back.
At Ellsworth IV Infusion and Wellness, we are here to help you look and feel your best, inside and out. Jumpstart your health journey with medical weight loss and rejuvenate your wellness with nutritional IV infusions. Renew your skin with facials or relax with soothing massage therapy.
I bought the sales pitch. Take an abortion pill and magically I would be unpregnant. I didn't know I'd have to take 2 different types of pills. That I would abort at any time. In my car, at work, that I would have to dispose of my aborted baby's body on my own. It haunts me. Don't make the same mistake I did.
Rowell's Garage has been serving customers in the greater Dover-Foxcroft region since 1946. Our goal is not just selling you a vehicle, but also giving you quality service to maintain your vehicle at peak performance. Browse our inventory online or in person. Whether it's a car, truck, or SUV, we can put you in the vehicle that is right for you. Sales, service, and parts. Rowell's Garage, doing business the right way every day.
Why should your new floor come from Carpet One? Because we're passionate about the spaces our neighbors call home. We're part of your community, And we're also part of the world's largest cooperative of independently owned and operated flooring stores. So you can be sure you'll get great selection and outstanding value with every installation. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, tile, or luxury vinyl, our experts take the guesswork out of choosing the right floor. We're your local Carpet One Floor and Home, the one store for your perfect floor.
At Ellsworth IV Infusion and Wellness, we are here to help you look and feel your best, inside and out. Jumpstart your health journey with medical weight loss and rejuvenate your wellness with nutritional IV infusions. Renew your skin with facials or relax with soothing massage therapy.
This is next level.
Create a next level dish.
We're going to smoke those 2 floors above us.
All new Next Level Chef, Thursdays on Fox.
We had a gusty southwest wind pretty much all day long today. Wind gusts up near 30 to 35 miles per hour. It's coming to an end now because there is a front in the area that's going to shift our winds out of the northwest, and that is going to bring in some colder temperatures and also a gusty northwest wind throughout the day tomorrow. After we did this today, 49 here in Bangor, 51 Millinocket, 48 for Bar Harbor. Above average temperatures today. If you like these, they're not going to stick around, though. Again, tomorrow, cooler temperatures are on the way. But next week does look a bit warmer with those temperatures up near 50 and then some early parts of next week. Speaking of temperatures, here we are across the Midwest today. Lots of 80s. Meanwhile, winter is right there. It's close, right? So overall, winter's here, summer's here. The seasons are fighting. You get lots of systems in there because of that. And we do have one in the region right now. It's kind of impressive to the west of us, but it's falling apart as it works into our area. And here is a temperature map again, not for this week, but for next week, forecasting above average temperatures for us. That's going to feel nice here in mid-March now with that higher sun angle in there as well. Okay, so as you move the warmer temperatures over a snowpack in some locations still, or at least a frozen ground, you can get some dense fog out of that. We'll likely see many days of dense fog next week as those warmer temperatures get in here and we head more towards spring, right? Okay, here it is again. This looks impressive, I know, but it's not. Most of it's virga precipitation. It's in the cloud. The radar sees it, but as it falls out of the cloud, it evaporates, right? So there could be a sprinkle, maybe a flurry tonight. Most of us will stay dry. There's definitely a front in here, though. It's going to change our temperatures for tomorrow with those much cooler temperatures on the way. But it's going to be a nice day tomorrow, even cooler, though, with some sunshine throughout the afternoon. And then our attention turns over here. This is a very powerful storm system. It's going to make national news all week long. In the plains tomorrow as a bomb cyclone. Basically what that means, lots of thunderstorms, lots of wind energy as it works toward the Minneapolis area. But a piece of that's going to move over our way pretty much Sunday into Monday, and that's going to bring us some rain showers and probably some snow showers and definitely some wind later in the weekend. For tonight, though, our system falls apart right over us. For tomorrow, partly cloudy day throughout the day, into Thursday and Friday and Saturday, and then here comes that system for later on Sunday into Monday. Again, this will likely be rain shower activity in our area because those warmer temperatures will be on the way Sunday and Monday. It may end as a couple flurries early parts of Tuesday morning. Okay, going forward, though, our forecast for tonight, looking at decreasing clouds, look for low temperatures in the teens with that northwest wind kind of gusting near 25. For tomorrow, all right, so partly cloudy and breezy tomorrow, highs noticeably colder near 35 with that gusty northwest wind. Then looking ahead, your 5-day forecast shows 35 tomorrow, 38 for Thursday, 48 though for Friday. Those are 50s in the forecast for the weekend.
All right, well, thank you, Jeff. Sports is next with Jack Webb.
Weekend is looking really good.
Yeah.
At Spectrum, we believe every day unlocks unlimited possibilities to bring you closer to the people and places you love. Spectrum transforms your gaming experience into a galaxy of adventures. And with the fastest, most reliable internet, you're always front row to the entertainment you love, no matter where you are. Get Spectrum Internet Premier for $30 per month when bundled plus a 3-year price guarantee. Call 1-833-440-0029. Spectrum Internet puts streaming live TV, sports, and popular apps all at your fingertips.
16 counties in our state, Cumberland and Franklin, Piscataquis and Kennebec, Oxford and Muskegon. 2, 3, 4. Water, Washington, New York, Lincoln, Knoxon, Hancock, Saginaw, Hopkins, Somerset, Aroostook, and Penobscot.
AMHG Works LLC, American-made home goods, located at the Rennie's Plaza in Bangor. Come check us out. We're open 7 days a week, featuring artisans, crafters, and manufacturers from across the United States, where everything is meticulously designed with care and pride. We also have a wide selection of pet accessories and treats. Let us be your new favorite store. We look forward to seeing you.
Roto-Rooter has served the greater Bangor area and beyond for 35 years, offering plumbing, hydrojetting, snaking, descaling, video inspection, and grease interceptor cleaning services. For all your residential and commercial clogs, call Roto-Rooter today, 990-1234.
And away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
A champion will be crowned. You know the crowd is ready. The Big East Tournament, March 14th and 15th on Fox.
Welcome back in, folks. The Maine men's basketball team made history on Saturday, winning their first playoff game in 20 years. They'll look to take that a step further as they took on the Vermont Catamounts in the America East semifinal. Coming into Tuesday night, Maine hadn't beaten Vermont since 2013. That's 30 straight losses to the Catamounts. Black Bears trying to change that. We pick it up first half. It's Kellen Tyne, such a crafty player. He puts Maine up 6 as they start hot. Other end, it's Jace Rockmore who throws it down. A one-possession game now. Late in the half, Maine rolling. It's Logan Carey on the fast break, feeds Keon Burns, who lays it up and in to put Maine up 13, but the 11-time America East champs would not go down easy. They go on a 7-0 run of their own as Ayo Fale hits the jumper. Maine led 27-19 at the half. Second half now, it's A.J. Lopez somehow hanging on to the ball. He just throws up the jumper and it drops. It was that kind of game for Lopez. He led Maine with 14 points. Time winding down. Killian Gribben, he's going to put the finishing touch on this historic win for the Maine Black Bears. They advanced to their first conference championship game since 2004 and are one win away from their first NCAA tournament in program history.
It means a lot that we got, our program back in a spot where we're competing for a title. And like I said earlier, I'm just really proud of our guys, the effort that they've made. Happy for our community that they're going to get to experience a little bit too. But the job's not done. We still got to get one to really get where we want to go.
South Portland native, University of Maine alum, so happy for Coach Markwood and that program. Maine hockey fans got a taste of postseason success and have been counting down the days ever since. Well, it's finally playoff time for the Black Bears. The fourth-ranked Black Bears wrapped up their regular season with some adversity. The two-game series at UMass saw Maine fall 5-1 on Friday, along with erasing a third-period deficit and coming back to win in a shootout on Saturday. Not exactly how Maine wanted to end their regular season, but with the Hockey East quarterfinal on Saturday, there's no time to dwell on it.
Our guys have a lot of resilience to find a way to come back and tie that game and, win in a shootout. So that was a good sign. But we got to find our game again. We got to find our desperation and the identity of our team, and that's really just about being aggressive and playing an in-your-face kind of game. And we got that given to us a little bit last week, and we got to get better from it.
Maine holds the 2 seed in the Hockey East playoffs. They'll take on UMass, Lowell, Merrimack, or Northeastern, depending on how Wednesday's opening round games shake out. Maine trounced rival UNH 5-0 in last year's Hockey East quarterfinals, so they know what it takes to win a playoff game at the Alfond.
You just got to go out there and keep it simple. The game's going to be coming at you fast. Bodies are going to be thrown all around. There's not going to be any space, so it's all about limiting mistakes, and then when you get your chance, you gotta be able to bury. So it's playoff hockey is what you dream for. It's what you work for all year long, and it's that opportunity that we're also fired up about.
No matter the opponent, that's a 6 p.m. puck drop on Saturday for the Black Bears. Down in Foxborough, they are making it rain. It is free agency right now. The NFL's legal tampering period opened on Monday, and the Patriots are spending some serious money. Mike Vrabel establishing his intensity and his identity with some of these early signings. Robert Spillane coming over from the Raiders, who got his start under Vrabel in Tennessee. They also bring in cornerback Carlton Davis from the Lions, one of the premier corners in this free agency class. Then they got the big one, former Eagles defensive tackle Milton Williams. They backed up the Brinks truck, signing him for $104 million over the course of 4 years. He was a massive part of the Eagles' pressure on Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Patriots also bringing in a few solid offensive starters, and Morgan Moses from the Jets to anchor that right side of the line, along with wide receiver Mac Hollins from the Bills. Patriots kicked it off this weekend, though, bringing in Harold Landry and re-signing Austin Hooper. And then late Monday, they bring in the Pastronaut Joshua Dobbs to back up Drake May. Keep in mind, none of these deals can be officially signed until 4 p.m. on Wednesday when the new league year begins. The new-look Bruins, who made a slew of trades prior to the deadline last week, faced off against the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers at TD Garden on Tuesday. The newest Panther, former Bruins captain Brad Marchand, getting in a pregame skate today. Marchand was injured prior to being dealt, is still a few weeks away from coming back. He did, however, talk about his 16 seasons in Boston and didn't rule out a comeback with the Bruins later this summer.
Still love, like it doesn't change. My love for the city and the will to want to be here has never changed. I don't think that it will ever change. It's just whether you can have a meeting of the minds and kind of come together, but to be seen.
That is all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
At Old Town Redemption Center, we are always ready to help with any fundraisers or bottle drives. We are here to help our community. Like and follow us on Facebook for upcoming weekly holiday giveaways and our monthly $100 drawing. Come stop by Triple S Tack Shop, 315 Hamden Road, Carmel, for quality clothing and equestrian gear.
The Silverado Trail Boss. And a little work. And a little play. And a truck that says no to nothing. And Chevrolet.
It's Chevy Truck Month. Well-qualified buyers get 2.9% APR for 72 months on this Silverado.
Visit your main Chevy dealers.
Here at Twin City Tire and Service, you will be working with industry professionals. We have ASE certified master technicians and certified tire and lube technicians. If we need your vehicle for a duration of time, we offer a complimentary shuttle service and can even offer a loaner vehicle. Being a client at Twin City Tire and Service means that we will treat you right. This includes a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty on mechanical repairs. We also provide you with 1 year of complimentary roadside assistance. Come see us today at Twin City Tire and Service in Brewer.
Winter is a time to get outside and enjoy all that Maine has to offer. And when it's time to come inside, rest assured everything's toasty because of your Fujitsu heat pump from Valley Home Services. Push a button and you'll be snuggling up on the couch in no time. Valley Home Services offers reliable rebates, significant energy savings, and expert installation. And now save $500 off each indoor unit for all systems installed by April 1st. Embrace the comfort of Fujitsu heat pumps from Valley Home Services. Call or click today.
At Old Town Redemption Center, we are always ready to help with any fundraisers or bottle drives. We are here to help our community. Like and follow us on Facebook for upcoming weekly holiday giveaways and our monthly $100 drawing.
Who wants to meet the cutest guy in the world? And also a baby kangaroo.
Animal Control, all new Thursdays on Fox.
This year's host and special honorees have been announced for Fox's iHeartRadio Music Awards. Fox's Ashley Dvorkin has that and more in today's Hollywood Nation.
You okay? Joel and Ellie return. Conan travels and LL will run the show in today's Hollywood Nation. LL Cool J is the host of the 2025 iHeartRadio Music Awards. He shared it'll be a night of iconic moments and special collaborations. The show will also pay tribute to Los Angeles following the wildfires and drive donations to fireaidla.org. Performers include Bad Bunny and Billie Eilish. Lady Gaga will receive the Innovator Award, Nelly the Landmark Award, and Mariah Carey the Icon Award. The show airs live from the Dolby Theater March 17th on Fox.
I'm Conan.
From the Oscars Stage 2, Traveling the World, Conan O'Brien Must Go has been renewed for Season 3 ahead of its Season 2 premiere. The Max series features O'Brien visiting people he meets through his podcast. Coming up are New Zealand, Austria, and Spain. Season 2 streams this May.
What's inside?
Max also shared a look at The Last of Us Season 2. The official trailer shows returning stars Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey, with new cast members including Caitlin Dever. Set 5 years after the events of Season 1, Joel and Ellie are drawn into a conflict with each other and a world more dangerous than what they left behind. The show returns April 13th on HBO and Max.
Hello, you.
An official trailer was also released for the 5th and final season of You, starring Penn Badgley as Joe Goldberg. This last chapter has Joe back in New York City as a married man whose perfect life unravels as his past resurfaces. You returns to Netflix April 24th. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
And finally tonight, a Dexter resident and business owner is doing what he can to get a nurse practitioner, a physician's assistant, or a doctor to set up a medical practice in that town. Our Jody Hersey has more.
When Northern Light closed its Dexter Healthcare office on High Street in 2024, hundreds of patients were forced to seek medical care at either Hometown Healthcare in Dexter or travel to other Northern Light facilities outside of the area.
We only have Hometown Healthcare, and they're limited. So really, now you have to go to Corinth, Greenville, Dover. There is a practice in Northern Light does have a small office in Sangerville, but it's just difficult for people to get around, and elderly, and in the winter.
But Frank Spizzuco, who owns the 4,800 square foot two-story building that Northern Light once operated out of, would like to change that. Spizzuco says the need for medical care is so great in the Dexter area, he's willing to help any medical professional who's looking to branch out on their own by offering them this building rent-free for the first year.
I can partner with them on a build-out and build out the building the way that it needs to be to get them going and help offset startup costs.
He even posted his generous offer on social media and shared that he'd also pay a $1,000 reward to the individual who helps find a physician willing to move and work here.
There's been a few people, but not in the medical industry. It's more therapeutic type counseling.
Dexter's town manager, Trampus King, thinks Spizzuco has a great idea.
As we know, taxes keep going up and stuff, and we just can't afford to do things. And to have a resident like Frank step up and take this opportunity to offer this to somebody is amazing, and we're very thankful for that.
In Dexter, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
And that's going to do it for us tonight, folks. From everybody here at Fox 22 News, take care and have a great rest of your night. We hope to see you right back here tomorrow.
We'll see you later.
For more local news coverage, switch over to our sister station, ABC 7, right now for ABC 7 News at 11.
As we naturally...
What can I get?
McHale, SZA, and music from Blonde Shell. New Jimmy Kimmel Live tonight.
Daddy, where's Mommy?
Thursday, the 911 two-part return continues.
Called every hospital from here to Orange County. No one's seen Maddie.
Time to call Athena. We're on our way. Something's not right about this.
Almost nothing is right about it.
You're supposed to save those girls, not hurt them. What are you gonna do to me? It'll be painless. Yell as much as you want. Nobody will hear you.
911, all new Thursday on ABC and stream on Hulu.
This is ABC 7 News at 11.
Maine Republican Representative Laura Libby has filed a federal lawsuit against Maine